Hello and welcome to the Mark Scaringi Show. This is your place for constitutional conservatism. This is where we talk about the important political and legal issues of the day from the perspective of putting America first. Our segment today, the first casualty of Trump's war, is the truth. The Pentagon just erased 4 American soldiers from the official death count in Trump's war on Iran. One day the number was 18. The next day, it was 14. Their reason? Those 4 men died after a ceasefire that I argue never existed. There's an old saying, usually attributed to the Greek writer Aeschylus, the first casualty of war is truth. In this war, the truth was not just the first casualty. It has been murdered every single day. And the worst thing a president can do is lie about the men and women who died for their country. Let's start with what just happened, because it is unforgivable. Earlier this week, the Pentagon's website listed 18 American service members killed in the war with Iran. Then the number was quietly changed to 14. The 4 soldiers who were removed are the same 4 whose remains President Trump received at Dover Air Force Base. Officials say they were taken off the list because they died after the ceasefire Trump declared in April. Trump stood at Dover. He looked at those flagged, draped cases. He told the country the toll was 18. And then his own government decided those 4 Americans no longer counted. That is not a clerical error. That is a betrayal. Military families and veterans are not staying quiet, and they should not. Tanya Stamos, a Navy combat veteran, said it straight. It is truly disgusting and disheartening to lower the count of our service members who gave their life for this country. As a Navy combat veteran myself, I find it a slap in the face that it is so easy to disregard my brothers and sisters in arms who raised their hand and gave an oath to protect and serve, all for the government who is choosing to wipe their names from history. That was a Navy combat veteran. Dominic Asciati, whose brother is serving in the Middle East right now, called it either gross incompetence or a deliberate attempt to mislead or mischaracterize reality. He compared it to the way Russia hides its dead. He said, families just want the truth. We want to know what's happening with our family, and we want to know what happened to our family. Jeff Merrick, a retired Air Force Master Sergeant, put it simply, this shows a total disregard for our military and family members. And in my view, they're right. And their anger should be the country's anger. Because this is not an isolated insult. This is the logical endpoint of a war that has been a lie from day one. Trump could never seem to get the story straight. At times, he denied it was even a war. He said, this is not a war per se, this is the denuking of Iran. He went further. He repeatedly called the entire conflict a little excursion. He said, we had to do a little excursion. I had to do an excursion in Iran, a little excursion to take care of nuclear weaponry, which, of course, did not exist. A little excursion? That's what U.S. men and women in uniform are dying for? Trump's little excursion? That is how he described a war that has killed American soldiers, closed the Strait of Hormuz, driven up gas prices, drained the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve, caused an increase in inflation and food prices, and left thousands of civilian sailors stranded for months. At other times, Trump talked about winning the war being nearly over, about being locked and loaded. He notified Congress that hostilities had resumed. When the legal pressure mounted, the language changed again. Trump claimed he didn't need congressional authorization under the War Powers Act. He argued the April ceasefire had terminated hostilities even as the bombing continued. So the 60-day clock no longer applied. He called the requirement to seek authorization unconstitutional. And that ceasefire, It was never real. The bombs kept falling. The fighting never fully stopped. Yet the administration treated it as real when it was convenient, first to dodge Congress on the War Powers Act, and now to erase 4 dead Americans from the official count. So let's look at the pattern without the spin. Trump said it was not a war. Trump called it a little excursion. Then Trump repeatedly called it a war. Then legal reasons made it complicated for him to continue to call it a war. Then Trump announced a ceasefire. The bombs kept falling. There was no ceasefire. And now 4 young Americans who died wearing the uniform of this country have been edited out of the record because of the same false ceasefire. This whole thing has been a lie from the beginning, including why we attacked Iran in the first place. But there is a special ugliness when the lie reaches the dead U.S. soldiers who fought for Trump's war in Iran. Now, you can argue about strategy. You can argue about whether this war should have ever even been started. You can argue about the Strait of Hormuz, oil prices, the failed diplomacy. Those are political arguments. What you cannot do, what no president has the right to do, is play games with the names of the men and women in uniform who paid the ultimate price. You do not get to stand at Dover one day and then let your government disappear those names the next. You do not get to use a phantom ceasefire as an eraser. And you do not get to call their sacrifice part of a little excursion. Again, there's an old saying, the first casualty of war is truth. In Trump's war on Iran, the truth was killed on day 1. And now they're coming for the dead. American families deserve better. The country deserves better. And the men and women who raised their right hand and put on that uniform deserve far better than to have their sacrifice quietly deleted because it is politically inconvenient. 18 is the number, not 14. 18. Say their number. We should ask and demand that the president and his administration say their number. Say 18. Remember their names. And do not let this government tell you they don't count, because they do. That's all the time we have today for the Mark Scaringi Show. Thanks for listening. Stay vigilant and keep putting America first.